So this is episode number 5, Pest Control Millionaire. Today we are lucky to have the operational king himself, one of the smartest guys that I know when it comes to operations. He's very ingenuitive. He is super sharp when it comes to all aspects of building, materials, operations in general. One of my great friends from Oklahoma City, and he owns Brassfield Landscaping. And Jason, welcome to the podcast, my man.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. I'm curious to see where you want me to start.
Well, let's just go right where we were talking. We were talking about Christmas lights before this, and it's that time of year. So all the new guys that might be getting into maintenance and landscaping themselves, they don't know what to do this time of year. They all struggle, right? It's just that time of year where things start to go, crazy busy all summer long, and all of a sudden it starts to die off. And people are just trying to figure out what to do next to get them through the winter, right? They don't want to lay off their guys. They don't want to lose cash flow. So let's just go right into it.
Yeah, like Christmas lights, we've been probably doing them for like 7-8 years. I would do Christmas lights over lawn mowing if I could, because the profit margins are better. I can't say they're substantially better, but I don't also have to have $10,000 worth of lawnmowers on a truck to go put up Christmas lights. I need $800 worth of ladders, so the buy-in is substantially cheaper. And for us, we probably do about 100K in Christmas lights. We could probably do more. I will tell you that we keep about 12 or 13 people on staff in the winter. And that's about, we could probably get to 150 unless we kept more people on staff through, the middle of December.
So that 100K you did Christmas lights, that's just in a couple of weeks, right?
Yeah. So that's in about 30 days. So we start this year we started about October 25th, and we plan to be done with all installs unless anyone calls before Thanksgiving. So at this moment we have about 7 working days left. No, wait, we have all next week, right? No, next week's Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have about 7 working days left, and I think we have about 30 more houses to do.
So what size crews do you usually run when you do Christmas lights?
So it depends on the job. If we're just doing a roof edge, possibly 1 or 2 bushes, 2-man crew, best crew to run. We do a lot of HOAs that are, you're doing 50 bushes, 50 trees, you're there for 2 or 3 days. It's a $3,000 or $4,000 job. We're going to send a 3 or 4-man crew, or we'll send 2-man crews over there. So, right now how we kind of have it set up is we have 4 Christmas light trucks rolling around with 2 people each. Then we have a chaser truck who's our, field manager, and he's checking work, making sure if like GFIs are popped, he's the one that's making sure that and then he's going back and checking the work and making sure that there's no burnout light bulbs or anything before we get the final seal of approval. And then we have 1 truck that's still kind of like starting with our leaf cleanups and stuff like that, because we've had about 4 hard freezes, and I'd probably say 60% of our leaves are down. So our other truck is starting cleanups.
So how did you get into Christmas lights? Was it kind of the same reason everyone else got into it, or lead us into that?
Yeah, I mean, really, when I first started getting into it, it was basically just because, you're trying to keep, in our industry where you have, at least here in Oklahoma, we have 7 solid months of work, and then you have 5 months of breaking even. So the Christmas lights keep us busy, where we're on the verge of overtime and stuff for November. And then it's keeping us busy in 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks in January. So it's just lessening the burden of loss for the winter. I wish I wish the Christmas light season would go all the way up to Christmas, and then take it was into February, but no, it doesn't work like that. But
so you guys go out there, started at the first of the month, and then you're gonna put them up. You'll be done by Thanksgiving, and then you have to go back, and then you just have to take them down.
Yeah, I mean, we still so in December, every 10 days we still have a truck drive around and look at all the lights. So basically our field manager, instead of working during the day, he'll actually come in about 5 o'clock in the evening, and he'll work from 5 to midnight and just go looking at houses. And if there's light bulbs burn out, if it's something he can reach or change or something, he'll do it without the customer even calling. And we do that. No one else does that in the city, but it really frustrates me when I drive by a house and I see a light bulb out, especially if it's something that's really low and easy to get to, and the customer hasn't called me. And I'm like, man, like their neighbors are driving by and they're like, there's a light bulb out, and it bugs me.
So,
But
right. So yeah, you have a guy that comes in and works for dark. So if there's like a GFI outlet out, or if there's light bulbs out, he'll just go back up there. Do you actually charge the customer to do that while you're there? Or do they call you back to go change up bulbs? Is there a service charge?
No. So I will say, if someone has a GFI that's popped, so once it pops once and we go out and fix it, we usually record a video and we try to send it to them to let them know how to reset their GFI or to figure out what's wrong. And if they have to call us out again, when it comes to number 2, it's kind of questionable. But if it gets to number 3, then we're starting to charge. Because like if you're not competent enough to know how to reset your GFI, then we probably need some sort of different plan in the future for your Christmas lights.
Yeah. So then when do you guys start taking them down then?
So we start after New Year's. So whatever, if it's a Monday or Tuesday, like January 2nd or 3rd or whatever, we'll start taking them down. Now we do know in some religions, the lights have to stay up until like the 8th or 9th. So I don't know the exact religion, but I just know I've had some people like there's something that happens the first week of January where they, still want the lights up. So we just kind of keep track. So we ask people when we put them up if they have a preference for takedown. And then, we put it on the scheduling notes that, customer wants after January 10th or customer doesn't care.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you can take it down after January sometime, and that price is included when they pay up front, put up, take down, and then you just store them for them. Do they store themselves? Do they own the lights? Yeah. How do you guys work that?
So for us, we do it where the first year, they pay and they buy the lights and the labor. And then the next year they just do the labor. We don't do the leasing option here. I think it would be better to do the leasing option, but there's just no market here to support that because like when the lighting was started here, everyone does it like this. So like, for instance, for us, let's just say if we did a $2,000 install for someone, then next year they're probably going to spend about $1,200 to put them up, and then they own the lights. But then also, if they decide they want to change bulbs, then they have to buy the new bulbs. If they decide that they, want to add more lights to the bushes, then we add more lights to the bushes, and we just, have that initial cost, and then
for sure.
Of course, if they add more lights next year, their price would still go up. But yeah, so. I think you're doing the leasing option.
Yep, we are.
But yeah, so, and I will say that we have a house right now that is 7 years. We've had the lights up on it for 7 years, and they were warm white, and the warm white light bulbs fade the most so they turn cloudy for the LEDs. So this year we actually changed our bulbs at 7 years. We don't have any problems with red, don't have any problems with green. But white's the only one that we've seemed to have a problem with changing. But it's nice because even at 7 years, she's had to buy, 300 new bulbs this week, and it wasn't a cost to us; it was a cost to her.
Yeah. So when they buy the lights, do they store them themselves, or do you still take it back and store them for them?
So we store them. We store them all. I'd say 90% of them we store. We actually do it more as a convenience. We don't charge them for storage or anything. We just do it more as a, hey, we store the lights. So that way, next November, we say we're going to come on November 5th, and you don't have to have your husband get up there at 11 o'clock at night and get the crap out of the attic and get it on the front porch and everything else. Like, no, it's us. And then, if you, next year, if you decide to go you either move or you have someone else you've decided to do your lights, we just bring your lights back. So it didn't hurt my feelings one bit. For the most part, if someone's shopping and looking for someone else to do their lights, they're probably not a great fit customer for us anyway. So I'd rather not have them on my list of customers. Or at least not Christmas light customers.
I agree. And so like the first year they pay for the lights and the second year is hanging them. So you're paying for the labor, and that's when you get the most profitable, right?
Yes. Yeah. The first year, since you're still building the light, let's just say, the first year let's say on a $2,000 job, there was $800 materials, you're charging $1,200 labor. You still make money, but your percentage margin is less because you're actually having to like screw the light bulbs in, stuff like that. So usually year 2, you're making probably 10% more profit the next year. And then usually by year 3, your maps are perfect. You've had a crew that's then installed them twice. Usually our profits go up, 30-35% by year 3.
That's incredible. And then that's why we were talking about before the podcast. Like we've known people that have literally got out of the lawn care business altogether and only did Christmas lights for 2 months out of the year, and that's the only business that they had, and it was extremely profitable.
Yeah, and I mean it's crazy that like it's even interesting watching the prices change, and people are like, oh, with the economy and everything that's changed and stuff like that. And I actually bought lights yesterday cheaper than I bought them last year. So
do you typically pre-order all your lights? Is that how you guys do that?
So we actually, here in Oklahoma City, we have a distributor that distributes to all the other people in the country. And as long as I go in there and buy $500 at a time, I get the max discount. So there's no reason for me to really pre-order it.
That's nice.
I still probably have $2,000, $2,500 in lights in inventory all the time, but I don't pre-order like 10,000 or 15,000. Now I will say I went in there yesterday and I bought the last spool of 15 facing lights that they had.
So if you get more jobs, where do you go from there?
Well, I mean, at this point, so we have 2,000 foot of spools of lights, which would roughly be about 6 houses. I realistically think that 6 houses would be our threshold. That'd be the max that we'd want to do based off of what our current load is. Now, if we would have started October 15th, we probably would push for more. But right now we're still selling, but we're not advertising to sell. And we actually even people that sign up in October, we actually charge 10 cents less than we are right now. And then if you call us by Thanksgiving, we're actually charging you 50 or 60 cents more per foot because we may have to go buy the lights, somewhere else. And, they're going to be more expensive. So, it's all about really trying to drum the business. Cause like for us, we were pushing our sales October 1 to November 1. Like that's where we wanted to make most of our Christmas light sales. So, seeing people even look, I think we even made a Facebook post like August 15th, and it just got a couple people interested, and it actually even, I don't know the numbers of like how many sales we got from or anything else. I mean, it had been very small, but we did have some people that we do install their lights went ahead and contacted us and said, hey, we're making sure we're on your list. I actually want to be the first house you install. So we had like 5 or 7 people that were pushing for, October 20th. They want to be our first customer this year. We want to be. So, it is, it created just enough buzz that, we were able to purchase stuff before anyone was out and stuff like that.
That's awesome. So you touched on 2 things I like questions for. You brought up maps. So you said your maps by year 3 will be perfect. Tell me about that a little bit.
So for us, what we do is we have, you can just buy a pack of 6 colored zip ties on Amazon. And what we do is we just take a picture of the front of the house once the lights are up. And then we put zip ties on basically 4 corners on the house or 4 different spots on the house. And then if there's extension cords to the yard, we'll zip tie them. And then on that picture, we literally like draw a line, an orange line or a blue line or a red line. And then that way next year we know where it is. Usually the big thing, the reason why I say year 3 is because usually year 1, people will do the house because of the actual purchase. Like, so like, let's say the first year they spend $2,000 and they're like, oh yeah, next year you're going to be $1,200. Well, the next year they want to go and spend $2,000. So then they're adding $800 more worth of lights to the bushes and stuff like that. So then usually year 3, they've fulfilled all of their holiday spirit, and then they're happy with just leaving it the way that it is.
Isn't it amazing how much money people are willing to spend on Christmas lights for just that time of the year? It's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it really is. I love Christmas lights, and I'll be honest with you, I actually put less lights on my house now than what I used to because I'm so busy putting them on everyone else's. But we do use my house as a training house. So my house and my dad's house, which is around a block away from mine, we do ours first, and we usually bring, just as a refresher, even if we have reoccurring people that are employees that have done it before, we try to bring them over there, two people at a time, and we do 3 or 4 training houses where we know that we're just getting back into the zone.
For sure. So you brought up sales for Christmas lights. Where do you get most of your sales from? Are there referrals? Are you talking to neighbors? Are neighbors coming out talking to you? I know you mentioned Facebook. What else are you guys doing for that?
So, I will say the biggest thing for us is marketing to our existing customers. So I will say in August 15th, every customer that was new for 2022 got an email saying, hey, just letting you know, we do Christmas lights. And most, I would say, houses we do, less than 10%. I'd probably say less than 5% are people that all we do is their Christmas lights. Unreal. So most of them, like, we're already mowing the yard, we're already doing their flower beds, we're already cutting their hedges, we're already spraying their yard, and we're doing their Christmas lights.
Yeah, you're the only one of my friends that I know of that I can think of that doesn't do a whole lot of marketing, a whole lot of ad spend, and you still grow massively every year. It's super impressive.
Yeah, so this year we're on track for 25% growth, and I have spent under $500 on advertising.
That's just, to people who don't know that, it's insane.
But I will say, our trucks are wrapped to the gills. They're crazy wrapped, and also we have a magnet schedule, is what we call it, and every truck has an area to put a sticky magnet on it. So right now, all the trucks say got Christmas lights, and then a month ago, seasonal color, got mulch, is your sprinklers winterized. So we have these dedicated spots to put these magnets on the trucks. And we also thought something that was really interesting is if we put the magnets sideways or upside down, more people call just to tell us that the magnet is upside down that are not even customers. So we'll literally put the, Christmas lights ? Upside down, and then some lonely lady at the stoplight's like, hey, I saw one of your trucks, your sign's upside down. And I'm like, oh, thanks for letting us know. Do you need some Christmas lights done? Well, actually, my son does it, but he's got just too much going on. And then all of a sudden it turns into this random sale because I put a magnet upside down on the truck.
Jason Brassfield bringing the fire 20 minutes in. That's awesome. So then how did you get it? Who taught you how to do Christmas lights? Is it something you figured out on your own? Did you call someone? Did you have someone that you knew that did it?
So I will tell you, 7 years ago or so, I was only me plus maybe 2 people or so. And I was really just trying to hustle to keep myself busy. And, I started buying Walmart lights, and I was chasing down lights and trying to figure out the whole thing. I'm like, man, how are these guys doing this? And then, it turned into those people have custom fit lights. Where do I get custom fit lights? And then, I'm sure you guys have a Ewing in your area or, some sort of distributor for lights, and go there. And then I went there, and then I will say that my house used to get a lot of lights because I was just trying to learn how to freaking do it.
Yeah.
I was trying to learn how to wrap my trees correctly, learn how to do this. And then, ever since, we kind of I figured it out, then I've tried to kind of pass the torch down the list. And now, we have 13 guys that are doing lights, and or 10, somewhere around there. And I basically have what I consider 3 experts, and then I have probably 4 medium, and then I have beginners. So I always have to put an expert with a beginner, and then the medium guys can kind of like filter in the middle.
So school of the hard knocks.
Yes.
So so like for one of the new guys or younger guys that might be looking to get into it, where would you steer them to? An Ewing or a Reinders, something like that, where you can buy the lights. So show them.
Yeah.
YouTube. I mean, where do you send them?
Yeah, I mean, I would literally, if you're not currently doing lights, I would try to go buy some right now and just learn how to make your own extension cords and screw up your own house this year. Go spend $500 on crap to put your own house and see if you can figure it out. And I mean, there's a ton of YouTube videos about it. And I'll be honest with you, like Ewing or anywhere else that has things, they're more than willing to show you how to put a freaking plug on because they want you to buy their stuff from them. So they're going to show you how to do it.
Cool.
You know, I think there's plenty of information to learn all of that stuff online. I mean, just Google, how do I make custom Christmas lights? And I'm sure there'll be plenty of info that you can find.
Absolutely. So let's so we came out of the gate strong on this one. Let's rewind a little bit and tell us how Brassfield landscaping got started. Like, how did you end up in this industry? It's an awesome industry, but how did you end up here?
You know, it was actually funny. You know, I started Brassfield landscaping back in 1996, and I was 16 years old, and I was just, you know, I had a Ford Ranger with a lawnmower in the bed of the truck. My equipment kept breaking down. And at that point, I remember I had like a Craftsman lawnmower that my dad said I could use as long as I mowed our yard for free. Well, of course, you know, I blew the motor up, had to do this. So I had to figure that out. So I spent lots and lots and lots of time at the lawnmower shop just trying to figure out crap. And I was like, no, I don't want you guys to fix it. I just want you to show me how, like, what parts do I need? Well, after like 1 year of doing that, they were like, well, hey, do you just want like a part-time job? And I remember that, you know, as maybe I was 15, because I was still riding my bike up there. And then I was mowing yards, pushing my lawnmower around the corner. And I started working there, you know, 20, 25 hours a week, and then mowing yards on the side. You know, then when I was 18, graduated high school, went to college, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to keep mowing yards until I graduate college. And I was just going to the community college and decided to buy my first house. And then I'm like, why in the world am I trying to get a degree to do a job that pays half what I'm making as an 18, 19-year-old? Like, it didn't make sense. So I will say that I grinded and grinded for many years. It was me plus 2 guys in a truck until probably 5 years ago. And at that point, I owned my job. Like, my job was great. I did not own a business. I owned my job for 28 years.
And that's where most people get stuck, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And then, you know, 5 or 6 years ago, and I don't know, how long have I known you now? 4 or 5?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Well, whenever I met you.
Was it 2017?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there.
SA2? SA3?
I went 4. 4 was the first one.
I was at SA3, so.
So either way, you know, that's when I decided, you know what, I need to level up. And I think even at that moment, we were roughly around $300,000. And we were actually just discussing tonight that I think we'll end somewhere around 1.9. So we grew from 300 to 1.9 in about 4 or 5 years. So,
and that's not because you met me.
No, it's not because of me. Man, like, the bad thing is it's different between knowing how to mow yards, knowing how to do
making that transition,
and knowing how to operate a business. I did not have a business. I'll tell you right now, if you're out running a truck right now and you're at $300,000, you do not own a business. You own a job.
But I think, like I said a little bit ago, like that's where everyone gets stuck, right?
Yeah.
And they just can't get out of it. And then next thing you know, we see it all the time. They're 50, 55 years old. They're mowing lawns still had $300,000 in business. They think they're going to go sell this business for whatever they think it's going to sell for, which is not a lot. We both know. But then they're like, well, man, I thought my business was worth way more than what it was. Like, I don't have a retirement, and then now I have to go find a job again. Yep. What do you tell that person that, like you just said, that you don't have a job, or you own your job, you don't own a business? What do you tell that person to do?
Well, they need to do some soul searching and figure out what their plan is. Because, I mean, like, I'm 42 years old right now, and, you know, I don't think I'd have many years left in me if I was still out grinding hardcore on a truck. And, you know, like I have one guy that's been with me for 10 years. He's actually 47. And I think that he has the drive I think he'll work that job until he's 65 years old. He just loves it. He lives for it. He doesn't want to do anything else. He doesn't want to own a business. He wants to literally grind and be in that position. And that's also fine. And if you own a job and you're happy with what you're doing, and then, you know, it is what it is. But, you know, you just have to do some soul searching is what I would tell someone.
Yeah. And so figure out what you want your business to look like in the future, right? If you just want to have a business that's just a lifestyle business where you can extract a little bit of cash from, not a big deal, right? Like, be happy with that. But if you want to go to that next level, you want to get out of the truck and you want to build a business, what do you tell that guy?
Man.
I mean, you know what you did. I know what I did.
Yeah. I would tell you need to figure out how you're going to get smarter.
Yep.
So you need to figure out where you're going to get the knowledge from, whether that means internet, finding peers, talking to people. I mean, the funny thing is that before I even joined into the same group that you're in, Brandon Peterman rolled up next to me. I was like eating lunch somewhere. Brandon Peterman's another weed control guy here in Oklahoma City, and he did lawns and stuff as well. And he literally like sat there, talked to me for an hour in the parking lot, and we exchanged phone numbers. And I'd known Brandon from high school, but I thought he was an idiot. And even at that moment, I still thought he was an idiot.
I still kind of think he's an idiot, but he's my idiot.
Right. I told people he's an asshole, but he's my asshole.
Yeah.
And that sounds even more weird.
Yeah.
But one of his homework assignments in the group that he was in was to meet like 5 other people in his industry, in his city, and just figure out what they need, where they're going. Like, just let them know his name, and like, hey man, if you need something, let me know. And I had never done that before. I mean, I'll be honest with you, when I was at $300,000 running a truck, I thought I was the freaking biggest business in Oklahoma City. Like, man, no one was bigger than I was until I actually started to figure out that I was not really even a business compared to a lot of the people in the city. So, you gotta learn. You gotta find the right people. You gotta find someone. You gotta find someone that can take you under the wing and you know, want to get you to the next level. And the bad thing is, it doesn't even need to be like, if I even like became friends with someone that did heat and air that was a lot bigger company than me, it doesn't matter what the company is. The problem is the drive. Like, the marketing's very similar. The hiring is very similar. Like, the only thing that you're doing is the service is the only thing that's actually different. Like, if you're doing bug spraying or anything, the business side, you can hire a CFO that's never even pushed a lawnmower or seen a lawn, and he's gonna operate your business correctly.
Just based on financials alone.
Right.
Yeah, right. So find someone doesn't have to be your sector, or someone that's ahead of you in business, and reach out to them and say, hey, you know, I'm looking to learn, like, you're willing to help. And you can find them on Instagram, Facebook, internet, they're all over the place. Find someone that, if it's someone that you're in your industry, probably a little bit better, but doesn't mean you have to.
Right.
Find someone that's in your industry that's doing big things. Reach out to them and say, hey, are you willing to teach me? Or can I pay you to teach me? And a lot of, like, you and I go back to those days. Like, do we have an extra $1,000 a month to spend on a mentor? Probably not. But we did it because we wanted to learn. We were so sick of being stuck in that one spot. Like, we were frustrated with ourselves.
Yeah. I mean, spending the money to hire a mentor is actually way better than what you think. Because at first you're like, oh my gosh, let's just say $1,000 a month. That's $12,000 a year. I don't have the money to spend that. You don't have the money not to spend it. If you want to get anywhere, you have to have someone, and like hiring someone that's dedicated job is to make sure you succeed is way better than even finding a peer that's, let's go. But, like in the group that we're in, they put us as, what was it called? You were my,
we're our compatibility partner. Close enough, but yeah.
Yeah. Our
accountability partner.
So we give each other homework, and then our teacher comes in and says, did y'all get your stuff done? And we're like, yeah, we did. Or, oh, freaking Jonas was being lazy this month. And then he's like, what's going on? What do we need to do to get you to the next level? Like, don't be an idiot. So
you said you spent $12,000 a year on that mentor. How much money do you think that $12,000 that year made you?
Man, I will say, really realistically, it's not the fact that it even bought me money. It bought me freedom. And when I was at $300,000 and working 60, 65 hours a week out in the field, and I mean, I know I work 50 hours a week now, but it's the fact that I work 50 hours a week because I want to. I probably only have to work about 25 or 30 hours a week, but I want to be there. I want to, continue to do what I'm doing, and I love doing what I do. So it's, so if I can say that money bought me 50% of my time back, and time is the only thing that I'll never have enough of.
I agree. We're all fighting back the same thing. We're all trying to pay it out to get time back we lost,
Yes.
What is a life in Jason Brassfield's day look like at this level?
So right now, I still am usually the first person to the shop. I usually get up. I actually have to take my daughter to the bus stop at 6:30 in the morning. Right now, our current start time is 8 o'clock because it's still cold at 7. Yeah. During the summer, it's 7. But either way, I usually get to the shop about 7, pull a couple trucks out, make sure that the routing is correct. And then usually our field manager gets there, and I kind of like vent him on everything that's kind of like happened that day. Like, hey, we need to make sure this truck has, shovels on it to dig up a tree. This truck needs a skid steer. This truck needs Christmas lights, whatever. And then me and him kind of start pushing the stuff out. And then usually by 9 o'clock, I can either go do estimates. I guess after that, then office Shelby in the office, she gets there, and we kind of like, she rummages through text message, voicemails, emails, and then we just kind of compile the fact that if I need to do something later on that day or go do estimates and whatever. I would say the biggest part of my job right now is still fire extinguisher and sales. I'd probably say 50% of my job is sales, 25% fire extinguisher, and 25% actual strategic planning and stuff like that. I do think that sales will probably be the next thing that I try to move off of me. I still like doing the firefighting. I still like the production side, and I still like, the future planning of equipment, trucks, and all that type of stuff. So of all the things that I dislike the most would be sales, and I'd rather push that on to someone else if I could.
That's kind of funny because obviously that I'm total opposite. Like, I'm not the operational guy. Like, that's just not who I am. It's not who I'm meant to be. But sales side, I love it. I love running the sales. I love running the marketing. But absolutely hire out the COO side of things for sure.
Well, and that's funny because that's the reason why, I feel like me and you could at some point, if we ever needed to, we could make a very interesting team, because I would rather not ever do sales, and I'd rather just run the operations. And I always try to squeeze out more profit. Like, I'm always trying to, like, okay, how can I make a truck be 10% faster today than it was yesterday? And at this point, I run my business like a drag racing team, and I'm now top fuel, where I'm trying to save milliseconds, where 5 years ago I was trying to figure out how to save 1 second. Now I'm down to saving milliseconds.
And let's be honest, your company prints a lot of cash. And at the end of the day, that's what it's about. But that's because you're so good at operations.
Yeah, and I will say that I want to squeeze the operations so tight, it actually does hinder the growth of the business some. Like, where you don't have a problem spending the cash and dumping in and reinvesting faster. I always want to see that 20% profit. I want to, I'm like, how can I get to 30% profit? Like, because realistically for me and you, like, let's say you run a $10 million business at 10% profit. We're like, wow, that's $1 million. What about if I run a $4 million profit at 25%? Who's smarter?
Definitely
Who's better?
You, right?
But
you're doing half the work for twice the money.
But at the same time, like, it has to be what your goal is, what you want to be, where you want to go, what do you want to be. For me personally, I know you want to be 10 million. You want to go sky's the limit. You want to be 50 million, 100 million. Like, you want to be humongous. And, for me, I really feel like if I sit solid at 4 or 5 million, I feel like that's where my sweet spot would be, that I could really have all the freedom that I want. I'd fill the seats that I want. I'd be able to extract money as I needed. Kind of like become that cash cow type of situation.
For sure.
Like,
well, you guys heard it here first. Turf Badger 2.0 OKC. Here we come.
Yeah, when I get to 5, then I'll retire from Brassfield Landscaping, and I'll run the Turf Badger branch in Oklahoma City.
I like it. Let's do it. I think there'd have to be a third business partner in that one.
I know.
So tomorrow you're taking off, right? Going to a conference yourself and going to go learn. How important has that also been? Is it the conference that you're going for, or is it the rubbing elbows with the right people to learn on the outside of things?
It's really interesting. I always learn something from the actual conference itself. I always try to strategize. I know which people that I'm not going to learn from, and I know which people I am going to learn from. And so, like, for instance, Jason Cup. If Jason Cup's on stage, I want to be in there and I want to watch. Even though a lot of the stuff I feel like I learned from Jason Cup, sometimes I get that little nugget of, like, even if it's just a reminder of something that I should have been doing that I haven't been doing. But then, there is other people on there that I know that I'm not going to learn something from. And a lot of times I'll just mingle in the hallways, because 50% of the stuff that I take home from any conference or any get together is from the mingling in the hallway. A lot of times I know who's bigger than me. I know who's smaller than me. But you know what? Even if you run a $300,000 or $400,000 business and you will walk up to me and you will talk to me, you still might be like, "Oh man, I did this," and I'd be like, "That's interesting." Like, I never thought about, like, for instance, the other day someone said, we hang our weed eaters vertically in our trailer instead of horizontally. And we've discovered that it causes less wear and tear on the motors because they hang and stuff like that. And it's like, I never thought about doing that, but that's interesting. So, and it may not be something that's relevant at all, but you might get one of those little things. It's like, you know what? I've broken 3 things this year because this was happening. And then we have this guy that's, owns his job, who's running a 1-truck till, who's solved the problem. And I'm not solving the problem because I'm not out there running the truck. I'm not realizing that it's as big a deal. So, so it doesn't really matter who you're talking to. It's just talk to anyone. So, like, this conference this weekend, as before, I try to meet at least 15 people that I haven't met before. And I try to get 3 phone numbers of people that I did not have before, because I might need that information. And I try to give my number to at least 3 people that I don't know, because they might reach out to me, and you never know when I need to reach out to them.
Yeah, so they say your network is worth your net worth, right?
Yep.
100%. It's so true. It's the people that that can help you solve this small little problem. Like, you're the Christmas light guy, or a bunch of Christmas light guy, or you're the landscape guy. Like, I can reach out to anyone of my friends, like, hey, like, we're going to do Christmas lights. What do you think? Oh, yeah, I think you should do it. Like, simple things like that. Like, yeah, absolutely do that, You just bounce ideas off other people. It's so massive. That's an interesting take on it, though. Like, you go there. You're going to get 15 people's names, and you're going to get 3 numbers, and you're going to give your phone number to 3 people. That's your goal when you go there. That's interesting.
Yeah.
And I talk to you twice, 3 times a week, and I've never done that. Oh,
yeah? Yeah, every year for the past, ever since.
You're very intentional.
SA5, sometimes and I know that we're kind of in a group of about 20 or 25 guys that kind of hang together. And, sometimes I just like to leave that group and go mingle with different people, because, like last year I discovered that there was, and we were talking about him before the call, that there's a guy there that does $1.5 million in crypto. And I'd never known that if I wouldn't have went and introduced myself and said, oh, tell me about your business. What are you doing? Oh, well, we do.
Was that guy's wife with him?
Yeah.
I think that's who I talked to there at the after party.
Yeah, she runs all the sales, and he runs basically production, and they have it streamlined. They start October 1, and they do $1.5 million in 60 days.
Unreal. And then that's it.
Yeah, so they do lawn mowing and stuff, but I think it's only $500,000 worth of lawn care or something the rest of the year.
It's kind of like Thacker.
But their Christmas lights are 40% profit. So 40% of 1.5, freaking hey, that's $500,000 in 60 days. I'll do that till the cows come home.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's impressive. And but like you said, you would have never known that, and never started gearing your business more to that direction if you went out and been intentional to go find that one person or one of the 3 people that you want to go talk to. That's super cool. I didn't know that. I'm gonna have to use that one. That's a good one.
All right.
Dropping
nuggets.
Go introduce
ourselves to several people.
I'm just going to keep shaking your hand 3 times. You did drop a nugget on me. So for back to the people who are going to be watching this show, besides their friends and people coming up in the industry that are young and savvy, and they think it's all sunshine and rainbows because they see this business life on Instagram. They're going to be rich and overnight. And what do you tell that guy? We see it every day. And
and I'll be honest with you. I kind of chuckle when people are like, "Man, we're gonna do $400,000 worth of work this year," and he's out buying a new Raptor, and I know that's been an ongoing joke in our group, and all this stuff, and then all of a sudden he realizes that he can't freaking pay for that ground, and he doesn't realize what his his actual cost of doing business is and stuff like that, and more times than none, I've seen these guys, 200,000 or 300,000 that are wanting to really scale, but they don't understand what scaling is. They don't have the capital to do it. They don't have the mental capacity to figure out, I need to sacrifice some time of my life right now to do it, to learn, and I can't jump out. Let's just say I can't jump out of the field until I get to X amount of dollars, until I have X amount of dollars in the bank. They're extracting too much money out of their business. All that stuff is detrimental to their business. And those are usually those guys, you try to talk to them about knowing their numbers and stuff, and
they don't care to listen.
They don't care to listen. And in 5 years, they're not going to be doing this anymore.
But how many times do you see it every single year? 10, 15 companies pop up in your area, brand new.
Yeah.
Like you said, they're driving a Ford Raptor, pulling this lawn care trailer around. And then the next year, guess what? You don't see them anymore.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this question. Would you rather know your numbers and then start your business and figure out operations? Or would you rather figure out operations and then know the numbers? Going back.
Man, Man, so for me, the problem is that I didn't really know my numbers until about 4 or 5 years ago. I was just lucky that I had been drilled in my head growing up the fact that I should always have X amount of dollars in the bank. I should always have 6 months of living expenses. I should always have a backup plan, like a plan B, a plan C on figuring out how things go. But I will say, since I have learned how to manage my numbers, money no longer matters. Like, I have the money to do what I mean. I'm not going to extract $1 million tomorrow out of my banker account or anything else like that because I don't have that. But I'm just saying, like, my family lives well. We don't have any bills, we don't have any debt really, and we live a good lifestyle. So, but I'm also not going and spending $20,000 a year on vacations, and I'm not going and spending, my kids. My daughter drives a 2013 Ford Focus. My son drives a 98 F-150. Both of them had a budget to buy their first car, and that's what they chose, but I will say understanding how to mow a yard and making sure you can do it is what you need to know first. And then I would probably say if your company is at $300,000, you should be starting to watch where your cogs are, what your overhead is, what your profit is. Because I'll tell you, if I could go back to $300,000, between 300 and 700, and I knew those numbers, I would have not done 50% of those jobs, because I may as well just been working at the Jesus house, because that's what I was doing.
Yeah, because I just made a video like this the other day, but you get those people they don't know the numbers. They're going to these jobs, and they're literally losing money on them, but they don't know it. So once they figure out the numbers, it's like, oh man, well, I'm going to have to go do that job anyway because I told them that I would do it. But they're losing money. So like at that point, you raise their prices. Don't be afraid to do it, right? Or just go up there and give them the $3 that you're losing and just skip to the next job. Like, don't waste your time on that job losing money. There's no point.
Yeah. And you have to be realistic to the customer. Like, if you know that you bid a $5,000 job and you're super excited about it, and then you go start buying materials and you're like, whoa, it does not hurt to reach out to the customer and be like, hey, I'm sorry, I screwed up. And this is what I did. And you're going to get burned a few times, but in order to learn all of that, you have to know, but there is people that you can hire to help you know your numbers. There's people you can hire to help you work on estimating. Even in these groups, you can kind of figure out what other people are doing. It's really difficult though, if you're on a Facebook group, to ask people how much they're charging, because like Oklahoma is different than Florida to California to Kansas. It's even different. Tulsa, Oklahoma is 2 hours from Oklahoma City, and their pricing is still different from Oklahoma City. But really realistically, you should know what your COGS number should be. And COGS, in case you don't know what that is, it's cost of goods sold. That's labor, boots on the ground, plus material. Know what that be, or you should know what your goal is for it to be before you even start that job. Is it going to take you 10 hours? If you're there by yourself, is it going to take 10 hours? If you send 2 guys there that are not you, is it going to take 5 hours or is it going to take 7? Like, you need to know that information.
For sure. And you're going to laugh at this because we talk about it, but it's like taking out the napkin, doing that budget on the back of a napkin. Yep. Figure out how much it costs you, including your own labor, to go out there to get the job done. Because a lot of people that are doing it the jobs themselves, like, well, I don't have to include my labor because I'm the owner. Well, it's like, well, true, but eventually you're going to have to hire someone to fill that role, and you have to be able to cover the cost. So make sure, like in the back of your napkin, you're doing your budget, figure out how much it costs you just to do that job. Simply, like that's simple, right? How many hours is it going to take you? What's the material? What's it going to cost just to break even?
Right.
Simple though.
Well, it's funny because, like, let's just say I send a sprinkler tech out to a job site. Well, that sprinkler tech is going to make, let's just say, billable $100 an hour. Well, let's say he can't figure it out and I have to go out there. Well, I'm going to bill $150 an hour because I'm going to do it way faster than he did and I'm going to know more. But it's the same thing with like a lawyer or an accountant or anything. You call around and you get a price for an accountant. And I actually had this yesterday. We hired a new accountant for our business. And, we had another accountant like, oh, yeah, we just bill by the hour. It's like $50 an hour. And then we go to this guy and he was like, I'm $150 an hour, but I'm the most efficient accountant you'll ever meet. I was like, all right, I'm going to go with the $150 an hour guy. Because really, realistically, he's going to be cheaper.
Yep.
And I'm not saying that happens all the time, but I'm just saying that, like, you have to weigh in and use your common sense to figure out which way you're going to go. Like, a lawyer that charges $150 an hour and he says, I think I can get you off of this. Then you have a lawyer that says, well, I'm $400 an hour. I'm the best in this industry, and you aren't going to end up having to do this.
The guy knows he's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other guy just values his time, right?
Right.
Since you brought up kids and owning a business and then having kids and having a wife, it's a struggle. Let's be honest, to balance that life. Do you believe there's a work-life balance, or do you think as the business grows, you get more balance, or where do you think that? Where do you lie with that?
So I will say, my oldest daughter is fixing to turn 19, and probably for the first 10 or 12 years of her life, I sacrificed a lot of her growing up, trying to figure out how to run a job. Mm-hmm. And when I say a job, I'm saying because it wasn't a business yet. And now, I go to every school event, like Friday I went to work and then I just went to Veterans Day and spent a couple hours at Veterans Day. And, and I make sure that I go to every school thing it is. And now I feel like I'm trying to make up time that I lost because I was too naive to think that I knew how to do this. Because I was always trying to do more work because I wanted to make more money. But instead of hiring people and training them, I just grinded more hours. So it's, I will say, my youngest right now is 7 and, I'm home every night. Typically I would say I'm home at 5:00 every evening. The past 2 or 3 years, I rarely ever work at home. If I do work at home, I'll get up. Sometimes if I wake up at 5 a.m, I'll get on the computer and make sure scheduling stuff is correct here before I go to work. But, the work home life balance now, I would say, is where I like it, if that makes sense.
For sure, because I know you said earlier that when you found the mentor, you bought back your time.
Yeah.
So you're not out there grinding on the trailer, but now you have a little bit more freedom because you have people, you have jobs delegated where you're not the only person doing all the work. You can actually, at the end of the day, go home, hang out with the kids. So it's actually got easier as you scaled your business.
Right. And sometimes I'll still come home at 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then if the guys do call me, I'll still answer them and, figure out how to problem solve. But I'm still, at home probably 50-50 working and playing Legos. So
let me ask you this. When you're home and your guys call, do you get a guilty conscience?
No, I never get a guilty conscience because I guarantee you that no matter what, I'm still putting in more hours than they are. I'm still grinding and doing things more than what they are. So I never get a guilty conscience when they're out working. I actually sometimes get more of a guilty conscience when I'm doing too much work out in the field that I should be having them do. When Christmas lights are over, we go back to, barely being able to fill the time. Well, I don't want to be out. I may go out to a job and cut a couple of hedges real fast. And I'm like, why am I doing this? They need the hours, not me. I need to freaking not be doing that. So. And
what's your Colby score?
4.584.
See, your implementer is low at the end, which is surprising because you like to have your hands on so much stuff.
Yeah, it's funny. If I could go, I think if I took the test again, and I know that everyone says this, I actually think I'd be like a 3.585, because I think my implementer is actually higher, but I think my follow through conflicts with my quick start, because a lot of times I have to quick start and then I stop until it's finished, or sometimes I demand perfection when perfection isn't needed. And I used to paint cars a lot, more as a hobby than as a job, but I would just be doing a basic job. Let's just say it's like painting a door and a fender. Well, shoot, when I'd get done, the door and the fender would actually look better than the rest of the factory paint would. And then all of a sudden the customer's like, well, why does it look different? Well, it's because I like buffed it and I'm ready to go out for like freaking car shows on the fender and door, but then the rest of the car doesn't. So I have to step back and base everything's off of, I understand some things have perfection, but I have to hold myself back sometimes. And sometimes I have to really push the limits.
Yeah, so I think we were taught that like anything over like 80%, I think the customer's not going to notice anyway. Not that we don't like to do our best, because we do, but it's the small things that we do as the owner, operator. Like we would just want perfect, but at the end of the day, no one else is going to notice but us.
Right.
And then we get caught in the weeds there too.
Yep.
When you got out of the truck, finally, and you started working on the business, getting like aerial view of your company, like a crow's view. How impactful was that? Like looking down and saying, okay, this needs to be fixed. This needs to be fixed. This needs to do this. We need to do this here. Like, really like looking at your business from someone else's lens.
Man, I'll say like when I stepped out of the truck, the biggest thing is that I didn't hire an office person until 3 years ago. I was pushing on $800,000 before I hired my first office. And I also go back to say that was a really dumb decision, because it also hindered growth. It hindered everything else. So, at 800,000, then all of a sudden I hired my first office girl, and then I'm like, oh, I have no process and procedure to even show her how to do an estimate, how to answer the phone, no phone script, not understanding anything else. So when I stepped out of the truck, basically I stepped into the lion's den to try to figure out how to actually own a business. And then you're like, I just go around like if people have to ask you 5 times how to do something, then there needs to be a process in place for doing it. So then you got to just kind of figure out what that is. Like, okay, so let's just say, for instance, Christmas lights. For me, let's just say I was going out of the house. I was looking at it and I was just kind of walking off how many feet it is. And let's just say like, oh, I think it's 140 to 150 foot of lights, whatever. So then all of a sudden you get an office girl that someone calls for personal lights. And she's like, well, how are you measuring that? And I'm like, oh, I mean, like, I just know I stepped 3 feet walking in front of the house, and I'm taking into consideration the pitches and stuff like that. So that's how I'm doing it. And she was like, well, how do I do that? Well, obviously, first thing, she's not going to go out to the job site. Second thing, she's not going to step 3 feet, even if she did go to the job site. So then all of a sudden it's like, how do I figure out how to measure this? And how do I figure out how to do this? So you have to go back and just really start creating procedures. And it's funny that at this point, I would probably say the office staff can estimate 65% of our estimates without leaving the office. And the rest of those are really more landscaping and stuff like that, which is also a process that I'm currently working on to try to see how I can pass that on to someone else. So
yeah, so if you're going to do like a process and procedure, it's basically a brain dump of how you do that, and so someone else can replicate it. It's, I mean, yeah, you could get into the minutia and do every little detail, but you don't need to. It's just a higher level of things that you need them to do to actually go out and recreate what you've done.
Yes.
Now, is that something you did personally, or did you hire that out?
So typically, actually, what I did was I actually hired a girl that had done process and procedures at another lawn care business and no longer worked there. And she came in, and then I just started brain dumping, and she started putting it into actual, paper, black and white paper. And then, I would literally do an estimate from the computer. She'd sit behind me, she'd watch me, and then she'd ask questions, and then she would try to go do it herself. And then once she did it herself, then we'd give it to someone that's never done a Christmas light estimate and see if they could come up with the same procedure. And if they can't figure out the same bill, then I need to go out of line to the procedure because something's not quite right.
That's fire right there. It's so important, and that's how you scale, right?
Yeah, and I'll tell you the funnest thing I did in doing this, even with me, there was probably 4 of us, field manager, me, 2, and the 2 office people, is we built a peanut butter jelly sandwich. So, you can just go put peanut butter on bread, put jelly on bread, put it together, right? So try to put that on a piece of paper. And it's way harder than what you think. Because first thing you have to put, get 2 slices of bread out, put them face side up. Then get the peanut butter container, open the peanut butter container, and use a knife with the knife end down to stick into the peanut butter jar to get the peanut butter out. And then apply it to the face of one side of the sandwich. So you almost have to make it, and it's really interesting. So we all drew a piece of paper, and then we had someone come in, and as we read them, they did them. And it was funny because it never said actually put the peanut butter on the bread, or it said put the peanut butter on the bread, but it didn't specify where. So, you as someone that's reading the deals, how do we know that doesn't mean putting the peanut butter on the edge? We understand common sense, but as you're creating a process of procedure, it's just really interesting how you have to come into. So it's also a really fun activity to let the office realize that, sometimes they have to fill the gaps. But yeah, if you're ever bored, have your staff make a peanut butter jelly sandwich. Line them up, line 10 guys up, be like, write down the instructions on how to make a peanut butter jelly sandwich.
That's great.
It's really entertaining.
Yeah, and you also said something there, it was a lot of fun, having fun with just building that.
Yes.
Building that team energy and spirit, and you do a lot of cool things. Though. I know you bought Nerf guns and shut off all the lights in your shop.
Yep.
Bought a bunch of Nerf guns and put them in the trucks, and they had to go find them. And then all of a sudden, there's a Nerf war before they can even start work.
Yep. Yeah. So you put 4 or 5 Nerf guns outside the shop door. You put a note on the door that says, "I'm hiding inside. First person to shoot me gets $50. If you get shot, you got to go give your gun to someone else." And it's really entertaining because, they don't know where you're hiding, and you just set up 2 or 3 strobe lights so they can't see it. And then I'm sitting on top of the truck with a sniper rifle, and it takes the first 3 or 4 guys to realize that where I am. So then all of a sudden they have to figure out a different way to get there. And to them, they're team building. But what I'm actually trying to do is I'm trying to get them problem solve just as well. How do I get to this conclusion? How do we do this? So what they actually ended up doing is they ended up sending all 5 guys in at once. I couldn't shoot all 5. 2 got behind me and they were able to do me. But they had to work as a team to do it. So, but they had to problem solve. Then they had to come up with a team solution, and then they had to execute it as a team. And they had to sacrifice 5 of 8 guys before they finally got there.
Yeah, that's super awesome. Super smart to do. But you do more than just that, too. I saw a month ago or so, you had a big party in the back of your house as well.
Yeah, so we do. During the summer, we try to do at least one team bonding thing per month. I have a nice pool at my house. I bring everyone out. I bring everyone out. And actually, we had one of our employees, he said he wanted to cook for everyone. And I said, "What do you need?" And he said, "I need 10 chickens or something." And he wanted chickens feathers, and he wanted to go from the butchering to the ending project. And though we won't go into depth on, but we ended up having chicken for dinner. and he cooked for everyone, and everyone thought he was great for that. And he literally spent probably 5 hours cooking. And everyone brought, their own potluck deals. Now, also when they do it, we have competition. We have paper airplane throwing competitions. We have, all sorts of, we pick red team and green team, and we do relay races where you have to jump in the pool. We freeze T-shirts, and then we say to the first person to get the T-shirt on. So you put a little water on a T-shirt, stick it in the freezer. So first person that can get it open and get it on someone, that team wins. Well, man, that is the most entertaining 10 minutes that you will ever have. On the fact of like lawn care, so we'll set up cones. Who can ZTR around this, thing the fastest? Have you ever tried to push a balloon with a weed eater? Very entertaining, especially if you can beat the boss at it. So, so we try to do things to really try to encourage culture. We try to get people to, come out. And when they come out, they bring their families. Like, we want their kids to come. We want their wives to come. We want them to know that we're all in this together and that we want to grow together. And we know who comes. We know who doesn't come. We know who then at that point is going to be a long-term team member, and we know who isn't. And we know the people that want to level up, and we know the people that don't.
It's smart that you have the wives come there, because it's just as much about them that is about your employee. If you can get them bought into the company and the culture, it's way easier for him to come to work every day, or her. Yeah,
it's really great when the wives come, and even the fact is, we usually have a truck here, and they get to meet the people that they either work with or that they complain about, or, and then, like if the wives want to drive the lawnmower around and they want to see what they actually do, or they want to see how badass their husband is on pushing a balloon with their weed eater, whatever, like it's just a good time for everyone. So the more of those we can do, the better. We're probably going to have, or in December, we're going to have a Christmas party, and I'm still debating if we're actually going to go shoot guns and like actually go to a gun range, or, let me see, what was it? Oh, we were going to do, rent a laser tag place out for 3 hours and just hardcore laser tag, and, we try to do cash prizes, do the best overall, best team, something like that. And I also like to give away ridiculous prizes too. So like we did a flip cup competition. It wasn't drinking involved, but it was still like, we narrowed it down, and the winner won a 1,000 piece puzzle with like a unicorn on it, which was totally a ridiculous prize. But it's just the fact that he was able to flaunt the fact that he had won this prize. It doesn't matter what the trophy is. It doesn't.
I know. I like that a lot. Cool. Well, I want to end with one question I'd like to ask everyone. If there's one thing they could go back and tell Jason Brassfield at 15, 16 years old, what would you tell that guy?
Man, if I was really able to go back, I would learn to trust people sooner and learn about business before you're 35 years old. Like if you currently are running a job for yourself, figure out how to run a business. And once you do that, I think there's no stopping unless you want it to stop.
Agreed.
So
I love that. Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks for your time. I appreciate it. I know you're busy. We're busy. You're heading off to Dallas here in half hour or so.
Yep.
So I'll let you get running.
Yep.
But thanks for taking the time with us today and sharing your knowledge.
All right. We'll see you later.
All right, buddy. Have a good one.
Bye.
See you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Pest Control Millionaire. If you are not already subscribed, we would really like if you did that. And please leave us a glowing review on iTunes. For the first 8 weeks that we have this show launched, we are going to give away a $50 Amazon gift card every week to a random person who gives us a nice review on iTunes. That's how important it is to us. Also, we want you to be involved with the show. Please send any questions you have about entrepreneurship, how to grow your business, anything about the service industry to info@pestcontrolmillionaire.com. We will answer them on the show. We have the best guests in the service industry, so why not get their take on your problems? Thanks for listening again, and we'll see you in the next one.